Hello, welcome to Yoga Journey 108. I'm Nancy, and for today's journey we are going to be using yoga blocks. Now I know a lot of you are saying, oh, blocks, props, aren't they just for beginners? No, we're going to use these, yes, for some assistance, but also we're going to use them to deepen our practice. There's a lot of wonderful ways that we can use these blocks. I have two kinds of blocks. I have a cork block, which is a little more heavy duty, and then I have the foam block, which is a little more soft, and various poses ask for various things, but if you just have one set of blocks, it should be fine. So let us begin. Okay, so for our first pose, we are going to start supine. I'm going to use the foam blocks because we're going to be using our blocks under our back, and the foam is a little softer. So this first one is going to go right between the shoulder blades. So when we lay down, we want it at kind of the bottom of the rib cage. Okay, that's where we want it to land. And then we're going to use the other one as a pillow. So we're coming into a supported heart opener here. Now I'm going to use the medium on both settings, on both blocks. You have the option to lower it down if would feel good for you. Okay, and let's say you're hanging out here and saying, okay, I can go a little bit deeper. So what we can do is lower this guy down, lower the head down, but keep the upper back block where it is. Okay, so what we're looking for here is just to have some smoothness in the back of the neck. And make your adjustments. So snuggle that, the one under the rib cage between the shoulder blades, and let's kind of soften through the jaw, through the chin, soften through the brow. Let the hands come out to the side. You can bring the knees wide, or you can extend the legs, and just use this time to come into the space, come into your body, come into your practice. And let's say for the last couple breaths, you're feeling pretty open through the back, so maybe you remove the bottom block, the head block completely, and release the head to the earth. I like to bring my hands together and settle the thumbs on the third eye, on the space between the brow, the symbolic seat of the sixth chakra, if you're into that system. Just breathe. Just in all these poses, just take a step back and witness how your breath has arrived in this pose. What parts of the body it moves. How the mind reacts to it. And another breath here. And now to come out, let's bring the knees up to the sky, and we're going to roll off to one side. Get the block out of the way. And come back to center. Okay, so now that we've come into the space, we're going to get a little bit fired up. These guys are a little bit heavier, so I'm going to use this one for my warm up here. We're going to do some leg lifts, okay, but we're going to use the block to make it a little more interesting. So this is our exhale, lifting the head, lifting the feet, and I'm going to place the block between my feet. Okay. And then on the inhale, I'm going to lower the heels and I'm going to reach back, reach up overhead. Exhale, reach up, take a hold of that block, bring the feet back together, and lower down. Exhale, and inhale. So that intentionally snuggling the block between the feet keeps us from just flinging ourselves up there. Let's hold here. Hold, 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 hold. 3, 2, 1. Let's lower down. 5, 4, 3. Hold it. 2, and 1. Bend the knees. Take hold of the block and put it off to the side. Okay, so from supine we come up to seated, and now we can take our blocks and have it assist us in Sukhasana. Now, a favorable position to be in Sukhasana is to have the hips higher than the knees. And by putting our blocks together to form one long block, we can settle our sit bones onto the blocks and sink our seat into our blocks. And this is a great place to sit for meditation, especially if you don't have a bolster or a specialty cushion. Okay, now another use for these blocks, if we're going to come into a forward fold, we can take a block, a single block, just to the edge of our sit bones. We're going to fall off a little bit. What that's going to do is going to help tilt the pelvis forward. Okay, so now I know a lot of you veteran yogis are thinking, I have no problem sinking my pelvis forward. Well, okay, there's another way we can use our blocks to extend our forward fold. Stick the block on the outside of the feet. And so now, instead of reaching for the feet, you're going to reach for the beyond the feet to the block and pull from there. And growing long out of the sit bones to come into a deeper forward fold. Okay, let's come on up. Let's cross our legs. We're going to take the block behind our sacrum. And we're going to use it for our twist. So as we come around, you know how we often take our fingers and do a tent at the base of the spine? We're going to do that here. Okay? Or we can keep the hand flat. But what this is going to do is create more lift through the spine as we come into our twist. A lot of times we find ourselves kind of collapsing into our twist. So this is really, especially if we press the palm firmly into the mat, we get a lot more lift through our spine. And then we can breathe all the way into the tailbone and really wring out the torso. And we'll do it the same the other way. So plant the hand, bring the right hand across to the left knee, and look around behind. Really connect with the hand. Okay, so the next thing that this is going to help us out is help connect with our adductors. Those are the inner thigh muscles that help bring things in, bring our legs in. So let's bring it to the smallest setting between our thighs. Okay? And we can start with our tabletop, pressing our thighs in. So this is rolling our inner thighs in. We probably get that cue a lot. Tuck the back toes, send the hips up. And so this is really helping us find that cue of rolling our inner thighs together to help spread the hamstrings across the back of our legs. And we can keep this block here as we roll forward into plank. And we can maintain it still while we lower into Chatturanga. We can even have a knees plank. It gives us a little bit more support than just our knees. And then we can come into up dog. Okay, still having that mindfulness in our inner thighs and how that helps guide our flow. Inhaling out to plank, exhaling to lower down. Inhale up to up dog, exhale to down dog. Okay. And lower down. Well, we're not going to leave the mat yet because these blocks are also fantastic for plank variations and Chatturanga training. What is a problem, an issue that often crops up, even for some of our more seasoned veterans of the mat, is when we come down, our shoulders are coming lower than our elbows, and we don't want that to happen. We want to short circuit that habit, and this is a great way to do it. So here we are in our plank, and as we lower down, we come forward on our toes and lower the shoulder heads onto the blocks. Now our shoulder heads are not going to be below our elbows. Okay, now firm up the core, and look what you can do next. Lift the hands. Oh, feel that you really need to use the lift here through the core to maintain this pose. 3, 2, All right, set the hands, press up onto the knees, and we'll come into child, but we're gonna come into child with our blocks. Okay, we're gonna settle our elbows on the blocks. There's 3 settings that we can use. The low setting here, our medium setting, and the high setting. Whichever one you choose, the backs of the upper arms rest, palms come together, forehead releases between the blocks. This feels pretty good. Separate the knees, sink the chest even more. Okay, when you're ready to come up, lift the heart, remove the hands. Okay, now we're going to go into a few standing poses using the blocks. Okay, so for our standing flow, we're going to start out in Warrior 2. We're going to have one block at the top of the mat and the other block in our hands. Okay, so first we're going to use this block to reach straight up. So we're going to hold our palms on either side of the block and press. So we reach up high and press our palms together. Notice how that activates our upper arms. Okay, so inhale here, and as we exhale, we're just going to make a line from our back leg, our right leg, all the way out to the hands. Reach out with that block. And notice if you're sagging through the right shoulder. Let's lift that right shoulder. And breathe here, reach it out, strong arms. 3, and 2, and 1, come back up. Let's extend through the leg. We're gonna reach on out and set the block behind the foot. We're gonna come into half moon, okay? So we're gonna step ourselves forward, block behind, set the block ahead of the foot, and the right foot comes up to the sky. Okay, establish your balance here. Okay, so once you've established yourself in half moon, find the block height that you're liking. And it could even be low. Plant the hand nice and flat. And then press into the hand and find the rebound all the way out the right fingers. Inhale here. Exhale, we're gonna pivot the upper body and the hips. So we come into more of an airplane type position with the legs and the feet. So we inhale, we're gonna use our blocks because we wanna get long through the upper body. And as we exhale, we wanna bend both knees, nose to knees. Inhale, extend out. Exhale to coil in. Inhale, extending. Exhale to coil. Inhale, lift out. Okay, now maybe we can free our hands into an airplane. Or we can do one hand. Switch hands to see how that works out. And from our airplane, let's lower our hands. We're gonna step back with the right foot and come into a high lunge. So let's take one of our blocks with us. We rise up. And let's take a few arm sweeps. So as we exhale, our hands come out in front of us. Inhale to rise up. Press into the block, the whole range of motion. One more here. And exhale, we're gonna lower down. Okay, so we lower down on the back knee so we can come into a lizard pose. Now you're probably familiar already with using the blocks in lizard to get the elbows to settle while we still have a long spine. Because a lot of people want to race and get the elbows down and they're curled like a C, but we want to discourage that and lengthen the spine. And so we settle here. Okay, some of my friends are just fine down here, don't need blocks to help them keep their spine long, and that's delicious. That's wonderful. We can use a block to go even further. Step on the block with your front foot. Set yourself up, lower down on the elbows. Tuck the back toe, lift the back knee without lifting the hips. A lot of times when asked to lift the back knee, this happens. And so let's make sure everything stays nice and low. So we're really getting the benefit from the block under the foot. Press back through the heel. Press forward to the crown of the head. And let's lower that knee. Let's come back on up. Send the foot back. Bring both blocks to the top of the mat. And we'll sink into a child's pose with our hands on the blocks, pressing in so we still keep the shoulders nice and active while we take our rest between sides. From child's pose, let's tuck the toes. Let's come up to down dog with our hands still on the blocks. Just notice how this changes the stretch, changes the pose. We're not trying to do it the easy way. We're not trying to do it a harder way. We're just exploring the various ways. Notice how holding on to the blocks can help you pull some of the weight more toward the midline. Exhale everything. And we'll step forward with the right foot. Pivot on the back foot. Let's take one of our blocks with us as we come on up to Warrior Two. Sandwich the block between the hands, making sure the shoulders are right above the hips. Sink into your warrior. Check in with the knee. Let's make sure it's not caving in. Okay, feel pretty good here. Then maybe we can extend from the left foot all the way out the right fingertips. Press into the block. Reach strong with the arms. If it feels good, you can look up toward the ceiling or just look straight ahead. Feel the power in the legs. So that's where our power is coming from, coming all the way out the fingertips. On our next exhale, let's come up. And we're going to come into our half moon. So the right hand takes hold of the block. And we're going to shift the weight into the right leg. Settle the block in line with the right foot. Press into the block. So find that lift from the block and rise up. Okay, and again, the high setting. If your ego's like, high setting, really? Lower it down. Or lower it down all the way. Wherever you have it, press your palm into it. Okay, flat palm. And reach out through the left hand. And your gaze can either be straight ahead or up to the sky. And on our next exhale, we're going to pivot around, both blocks under our hands. Square the hips to the ground. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, bend both knees in. Inhale for length. Exhale, lengthen. Or coil. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, coil. And we're going to hold our airplane here. So we can keep our hands right on the blocks, or we can lift into airplane. Try to keep that length we found when our hands were rooted as we fly. And from our airplane, let's lower our hands. We're going to step back with the right foot and come into a high lunge. So let's take one of our blocks with us. We rise up. And let's take a few arm sweeps. So as we exhale, our hands come out in front of us. Inhale to rise up. Press into the block, the whole range of motion. One more here. And exhale, we're going to lower down, lower on the back knee. So here again, we are going to come into our lizard pose. So we're either bringing the blocks both on the inside of the right foot, so we can lower down onto our elbows, or we're going to take a block underneath the right foot. so we can deepen into our lizard in a way that we can't without the block. And once we get down here and get a nice long spine, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, just making sure that we're not popping up through the hips, that we're keeping the hips nice and low. Let's draw the right knee in toward the shoulder, the right shoulder, coming in toward the midline. Breathe here. And then let's lower down the knee. Come on up. Let's bring both blocks together at the top of our mat. Step forward with the left foot. We're gonna step both feet on the blocks and come into a forward fold. And now, just like we did with our sitting forward fold, these blocks give us more space to move into as we come down. So instead of holding onto our thighs to curl in, maybe we can pull into the back of the blocks. Sink the crown of the head. Okay, so from our forward fold, we're going to bend the knees, tuck the tailbone, roll on up to standing. And here we are on top of the blocks. So we're going to use our blocks now for a little bit of balancing. So let's root in to the right foot. Let's spiral our left knee out and find our tree. Tree balancing on our blocks. This challenges the pose just a bit because we have a much more narrow space on which to wobble. Okay, and you will notice that the foam blocks are a little bit more challenging, no, a lot bit more challenging than the cork. Yeah. Inhale and exhale, release. Let's root into the left block, left foot, externally rotate the right knee, and come in to a tree on this side. I'm noticing the top of my head is cut off because I did not, I had myself set up for tree, but not tree on a block. Okay, breathe here. Enjoy the new landscape here. And exhale, release. We can do the same thing with our big toe to hand to big toe pose. So let's root into the right again. Let's hug the left knee up into the chest. We might just stay right here, or we can take hold of that toe and extend it on out. Sitting up nice and tall. I really like the cork ones for this. The foam ones are really a challenge for me. Like so much of a challenge that I don't even get into the pose. I'll maybe do outtakes someday and you can see that. Inhale. And let's release that leg. Let's sink into the other foot. Starting with bringing the knee into the chest. Interlace the fingers around the big toe, peace fingers, lock it with the thumb. Press the heel on out. And let's notice if the right hip is lifting up. We're going to try to level out the hips as much as possible. Another inhale. And exhale, release. And let's step off the blocks. Okay. Another wonderful use of the blocks is with lifts. Okay. We do a lot of lifts with Ashtavakrasana, which is the 8-angle pose. We do it with our arm balances with crow, that lifting up from the floor, from our hands. And so the blocks are a really great way to give us a little more space to move our bodies. One of the ones that I use blocks a lot in is when I was working on the jump through. So we start in our downward dog with our hands on the blocks, look ahead, bend the knees, and instead of we can practice by hopping to the front and hopping back into down dog. So just take a few hops, just feeling it out with the blocks under the hands. And if you're feeling it, look beyond the blocks, bend the knees. We're gonna hop all the way through. We're gonna shoot our legs to the front. For a long time, when I was doing my jump throughs, I'd have my thumb kind of give me a little extra lift. And that could really exacerbate carpal tunnel. So we want to protect our wrists and hands. And the blocks are a beautiful way to do that. Let's try it again. Look ahead, bend the knees. We'll bring the legs through. Ideally not scraping the floor. Okay. Here we can also practice the preparation for Ashtavakrasana, which is the 8-angle pose. I don't know if people are familiar with that. This one. But the prep for that is just getting that lift off the ground. So the first thing we want to do is work the hip joint so we can get the back of the knee onto the shoulder. Okay, and let's bring our block right into the hip. Okay. We're going to set our right hand on that. Other one comes to the left hip, and we can push up. Oh my goodness, look at all this space. It's almost easy to lift the other leg. So when we're down here without the blocks, it's like little centimeters. We only have millimeters and centimeters to work with, but here we have full centimeters to go with. And then we can play around with that. But just hanging out here is a big part of any of the lifting poses. And lower back down. Well, we gotta do the other side. So let's bring the left knee in, under the armpit. Let's bring the knee over the shoulder. Let's settle the left hand onto the block, which is really close to the hip here. Kind of bend the knee so you can get like a little grip on the upper arm. Press into both blocks. Whoa, so much space. You can just kind of mess around with that right leg. And suddenly you just have all this space to play. And lower down, release. Okay, there's a lot of things we can do with crow in this, but I wanted to show how these guys can work with firefly. Since we did a lot of hip stuff with our lizard and our prep for Ashtavakrasana. So firefly, or at least the firefly prep, asks that we get our hands behind our feet, bend the elbows back, and sit our thighs on our elbows. Okay, now just getting the hands behind the feet is kind of a big deal. So if we're still working on that part of it, we could bring the blocks behind the heels and then put our hands down. Oh, okay, now we have a little more space to bend the elbows. And then we can just kind of shift the weight into our hands. Maybe the toes come up, maybe they don't. Maybe we can bring the toes together. Maybe we can cross them. Maybe we can cross them the other way. And there's space to do that without scraping the floor. And if we want to do the full firefly, we extend our extend our legs out, lift through the core. And when we're done, lower down. I'm going to put my blocks together, step on the blocks, and take a nice forward fold. Shake it out, shake it out. Okay, and then we're going to work our way down to finish our series. So we'll step off the blocks, put them off to the side because we're going to get to them when we come down. Maybe you want to try a jump through with or without the blocks. Since it is a block class, I'll do the jump through with the blocks. And we'll slide our feet forward, lower ourselves down. Let's make sure we bring the blocks with us. Okay, so now we're going to take a block and we're going to bring it under the sacrum. Again, we have 3 settings, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to settle that under the sacrum and then release both legs to the bottom corner of the mat. And both arms up to the top and take a couple clearing breaths. Okay, and let's walk the feet under the knees. Then we'll lift the pelvis so we can adjust our block. For this one, let's do medium or high. And let's make sure we get it kind of to the top of the sacrum so we can lift our feet up to the sky. Okay. Arms alongside the body. Let's not look around here because even though we have some support in our hips, we're still sending weight back into our shoulders and head, and moving the neck around with weight on that back of the head is not very safe for the neck. Okay. Inhale here and maybe exhale, lower a foot toward the ground. Doesn't need to make it. Inhale, reach both feet out. Exhale, come on up. Inhaling. And exhale, reach the left toe down, right toe reaches to the sky. Inhale. And exhale, back on up. And then we're going to hang out here for 5 or 6 breaths. This is a great option for people who are still working on shoulder stand. It's a little bit more mild. This is a great one where the cork block comes in because there's quite a bit of weight on the block right now. Breathe all the way up into your feet. Let's bring the knees in toward the chest. Let's bring the heels down into bridge. Notice if this feels comfortable. If it does not feel comfortable, you can just lift the hips, lower it down. And we're going to come into our star again. So this could be a different sensation from bridge. So test it out, extend one leg, extend the other leg. If it's too high, lower the block down. And the arms come up above the head. So take a few breaths here. And when you're ready for Shavasana, we'll bring the feet back under the hips, arms alongside the body so we can remove the block when we lift the hips. Slowly lower down. Let's bring the knees into the chest, sway from side to side. And we'll get ready for our Shavasana, whatever that looks like for you. So you can extend the legs. You can bring the block back into play. If you want to stick it under your shoulders and relax again. If you want to keep one under the sacrum at a low level, let's just find something that your body can settle into. We're not for Shavasana, we're trying to minimize all effort. So if there's any kind of strain in sticking a block somewhere, then just leave it out. Another option is to stick them under the knees or even under the feet. Just have the feet slightly elevated. And breathe here, settle in. Pause the video, stay here for as long as you need to. Give yourself permission to be completely still, completely here. The brain's gonna run off and figure out what kind of chores need to be done right now, or if you need to go shopping, or if the kids are coming home, or if you have homework to do, or nope, that'll all be there later. For now, this little sliver of, this little oasis of calm is here for you. It's a gift, so let's honor it, accept it, breathe into it. I hope you enjoyed this little journey with our yoga blocks. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please hit the like, and if you want to see more like this, then please subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.